Well, there's a war going on in Maryland that I want to talk to you about. Montgomery County School Board, a few months ago, they decided to take parental rights away from public school parents. They decided to take your religious rights away. Your authority as a mother and a father no longer matter in Maryland or in Montgomery County, Maryland. Now, let me break this down for you. Pay attention because it's coming to a school near you. I promise you. They start off in the East. All the stupidity starts always over in the East. All the dumbfoolery and the tomfoolery and the shenanigans always starts on the East over yonder. Just like the sun rises in the East, stupidity starts in the East. But then it meanders its way all the way across the nation. So it's coming to your school, and you need to be utmost aware of it because it's coming. Just outside of our nation's capital is where Montgomery County is. They implemented curriculum back in 2022, 3 years ago, that introduced elementary students, your grandchildren, 5, 6, 7 years old, to books that you and I would never read. LGBTQ XY Zebra Plus. They introduced these books as part of their Inclusivity initiative. Now, at first, it started out the way it always starts out, with making acquiescence at first. At first, making the parents get used to it so that they won't, go off. So they at first allowed the parents in Montgomery County to opt out of their children being able to read about abnormalcy, making their children read about sodomy, insanity, abominations, disgustery. So they allowed the parents at one time in 2022 to cop out. Their children would not have to read those books. But that didn't last long. It never does. Because when they are going for your freedom and for your children, they never, ever take long to do it. Just long enough to dumb you down to where sin becomes normal and you become jaded and you become dumbed down so much that you simply accept and you just bow down to Babylon. In March of 2023, 1 year later, guess what the board did in Maryland? They did a complete reversal, a 180. No more cop-outs. No more. No more could the parents of a child opt their children out. No more parental notice would be given when your little boy was given a book with Uncle Joe and Uncle Bob getting married and having babies. No more respect for your convictions at all. Now, why? Why did they do this? Because too many parents were doing the right thing and trying to save a generation, pulling their children out. Too many families were saying, not in our home, not in our classroom. So the school board blamed their reversal on absenteeism. But what they really reversed it for was disobedience from parents. Oh, yeah. Their excuse to the Supreme Court today was that they reversed it because of absenteeism. No, you liars. You reversed it because parents didn't obey the dictates of sodomists. So a group of parents, including a brave mother by the name of Grace Morrison, filed a federal lawsuit, and she lost that lawsuit. She lost the lawsuit in the federal court, and now it is before the Supreme Court because Grace is Catholic. Her daughter has special needs, and she said these words: "We felt as parents that we should present sexuality to our children when they're ready to receive them, especially a child with special needs." And she's not alone. Hundreds of families, religious and secular, were blindsided by this policy shift in Montgomery County. The federal appeals court sided with the school district, saying the kids were not being pressured to change their beliefs, just exposed to new ideas. You slithering serpent. That's how it always starts. Just exposing you to new ideas. But what you don't understand, oh foolish one, to a 5-year-old, exposure is everything. It was so bad. These books were so bad that the liberal justice today, Elena Kagan, yes, the one that's half woman, half man. Anyway, Elena Kagan, she's definitely no conservative, but she said these words, and I quote, she said, "I confess I was struck by these young kids' picture books on sexuality." Wow. Imagine that. Imagine that. Imagine that. Now, I want you to meet Grace over in Montgomery County.
She is a plaintiff in this case, and thank you so much for being with us. I have to say, it's almost a little shocking that we even have to have this conversation, but we do. And you're a mom, and you decided to take this to the courts. You lost in the lower court. Do you believe, ultimately, that the Supreme Court is going to rule in your favor, and why?
I do believe that they're going to rule in our favor. This is a majority issue. This is basically restoring the rights that parents have had in Montgomery County. We've had the right to opt out of these highly sensitive issues, and we've had the right to be notified. So I believe that it's just a matter of restoring what the school board overturned in a very quick overnight decision.
You are the mother of 7. Your youngest child has Down syndrome and other special needs.
Yes.
It seems to have struck you quite personally.
Yes, we had her in the, she was adopted from Ukraine as an infant. She was in the Montgomery County School since she was 3. She was then 10 years of age, and it had been a wonderful relationship with the teachers. And then all of a sudden there was this change in policy, and when I went to say, I don't think these books will be good for her, and especially the instruction, a wall went up between myself and the teacher and the principal as well, and they felt that if our family couldn't adhere to this policy, then the public school system was not the best place for our family and for our daughter.
The brief from the school board says this: the storybooks themselves do not instruct about gender or sexuality. They are not textbooks. They merely introduce students to characters who are LGBTQ or have LGBTQ family members. The word merely strikes me there. And I wonder what it was like when you first saw these books and read them yourself.
Yes, I did go and I did read them, and I was honestly shocked. And the part two is that it was not merely reading, it was instruction. And you can find in the court documents how the teachers and principals were instructed on how to approach the children and instruct the children with a very one-sided answer and approach to any questions that would come naturally from the children when these heavy topics are introduced. We're talking children 3 to 10 years of age. So it's just really unthinkable.
Grace, thank you for joining us today. I know that you are anxiously awaiting that argument.
So I'm going to break this down for you. Let me show you what's really happening here. It's not about books. It's about control. It's about the state declaring, we know better than you, the parent. We decide what is age appropriate. We decide what worldview your children will be shaped by. And if that worldview contradicts your faith, tough. So let me get this straight. I'm getting ready to write a check to the IRS for my taxes. I got an extension. Getting ready to write a check that makes my a lump come up in my throat. And I'm writing a check to the state of Mississippi where I live. And part of that money, no matter what I believe, is going to go to pay against all my religious belief for the education of sodomy and disgustery to my children, grandchildren, and the children of this state. But I want to remind the school board in Montgomery County something, and I wish somebody would get them, clip this. I want them to hear it. I want to remind the court, the Supreme Court, the federal court, and this nation of something. The First Amendment protects freedom of religion. And that freedom does not end when your child steps in a classroom. The Trump administration gets it. Thank Yahweh. They filed a brief, and it's totally opposite of what the Biden administration would have done. The Trump administration filed a brief in this court challenge calling this policy exactly what it is. Donald Trump called it compelled instruction. And that, my friend, my fellow American, my fellow God-fearing, believing, Bible-believing Christian friend, compelled instruction is the word. When you take a child and they cannot leave a classroom, you will program into that child what to believe. And here is what they tell them without telling them. Your mother, your father, your Christian mother, your fundamental Bible-believing father are all wrong. Your Sunday school teacher, your Sabbath school teacher, your spiritual mentors and advisors are all wrong. Listen to Mr. Jones. Listen to the truth because you respect your teacher. I'm here to retrain your mind. And luckily, I have you 8 hours a day. Luckily, I have you under my spell. This is true. And what you need to do to your parents is let what they tell you go in one ear and out the other, because Mr. Jones is telling you something greater than your religion. I'm teaching you the religion of humanism. Compelled instruction. This is about more than Montgomery County. This is about whether our government at any level, state, local, federal, gets to override that sacred bond between parent and child. and impose ideology in the name of inclusion while excluding the parents. The battle lines have been drawn in America. So I ask you, my listeners, tonight, will we just sit back while they reshape our children's minds? Many of you have already lost your children because you sent them to school, government schools. Do you know what one of the lawyers said today to the Supreme Court? And it literally shook me to my core as I listened. He said, when a parent sends their child to public school, they should expect that all of the public will be included, including things they disagree with. You may be right, Mr. Lawyer. So that leaves me with one option, doesn't it? Not to send mine to your public school. But thank God for people like Grace Morrison that is at the Supreme Court today. She said, not in our house, not in our school, and not on our watch. Thank you, Grace Morrison. We're praying for you, and I believe you're going to get a victory at the Supreme Court. We have more breaking news.